Hello guys. A lot of things are happening around us, around the globe. For example, protest and revolution, so to say, or the oppositions happening to the ruling elite. It can be Russia, Ukraine, it can be Israel, Palestine, it can be internal Israel, it can be Maratha Andolan in Maharashtra, it can be Arab Spring in Middle East. It can be, let us say, for example, historical. If you have to talk about historical perspective, Cuban Missile Crisis between Cuba, Russia, and America. And so, basically, the thought process is just we'll try and understand how these governments or the rulers try and suppress, try and break, try and destroy such uprisings or revolts or oppositions using various methods and various tactics. So I was just as a student of history and as a student of career dynamics and workplace, I happen to have gone through some of the very nice books. For example, Leviathan, which is 16th century book. Then there is one nice book, The Prince by Niccollo Machiavelli. And then obviously Robert Greene is there, who has helped us with a lot of nice, very extremely good books, like for example, for 33 Strategies of War. Then there is 48 Laws of Power, and the best one is the Laws of Human Nature. So these books are fantastic, and based on these books we can understand the dynamics of human mind and brain and how it works to get advantage or gain advantage from the situation, from the people, from the surroundings. So based on these and my working with the career coaching, I had written one book about workplace politics. Again, workplace can be office or a political or social or NGO or military, or it can be sports, or it can be anything. So the point here is how do rulers or the established people try and suppress revolts or oppositions or you can say uprisings against them. So as a human beings, it is very interesting, and it can be applied to Russia, Ukraine, Maratha Andolan in Maharashtra, Cuban Missile Crisis, Arab Spring, Israel, Palestine, Israel internal, Israeli government versus Israeli population, etc. So let us understand how basically they try and break these uprisings or the protests. The first thing is basically when the protest or the uprising in the initial phases, that is the best time for them to break it or destroy it, because then the support is limited and it is just growing up. So the nipping in the bud, as we say. So the best time is to nip in the bud, and they can use your muscle power. It can be financial muscle, military muscle, judicial muscle, law and police muscle. It can be one-on-one pressure tactics, etc. So that the real leaders or the supporters who are involved in the uprising or revolt or protest, they get subdued and they get away. Basically the protest, uprising or the revolution gets destroyed. Minimizing the second tactic is minimizing visibility and reach, so that less and less people understand and know about what is happening, so that the support does not grow beyond a certain geographic area or certain population. So minimizing visibility and reach can be using print media, social media, electronic media, so that none of the news comes in front of the people, so that they start thinking about the support. For example, whatever is happening in Palestine, we are not taking any sides, but whatever is happening in Palestine, the news of Palestine, the plight of Palestinian people, if Israel can control this news, circulation of this news across the globe, obviously people will not understand what is happening there. So electronic media is important. If Israel can pressurize UN not to comment anything against Israel on Palestinian issue, obviously that can also help, because lot of countries, most of the countries around the globe, they always listen to, or they are always influenced by UN. So this kind of tactics can be used. And the last but not least, on the ground where the actual result or revolt or uprising is happening, you can always physically cut resources to them, physically cut supplies, electricity. As we have seen, Israel has cut electricity, fuel, food, medicine, all the supplies, and even social media, internet connections to these people, so that they don't unite, they don't stay together, they don't communicate properly, and the uprising or the revolt can be quelled or destroyed. The same thing is happening in Russia, Ukraine. But I'm not saying who is oppressed and who is oppressor, but same tactics are getting utilized from both the sides. Even in Maharashtra, Maratha Andolan, same things can happen. I'm not saying they're happening, but it is possible that basically the rulers, the first instance is to keep law and order in the state, and then obviously take care of their own interests and agendas, and obviously then anybody and anything that comes against or stands against these agendas obviously needs to be taken care of. So these tactics, as Niccollo Machiavelli, as he was on the far right side, but the politicians or the people at the in the ruling elite, Henry Kissinger, for example, Secretary of State, the famous Secretary of State from 1970s, Madeleine Albright. So all these people were using all these tactics. Basically, we are discussing only about the individual tactics, but if you think about Secretary of State for America, he has to manage all these 10, 12, 12 13, 14 revolts or uprisings across the globe on daily basis. So these tactics are very common for them, and they are day-to-day routine basically. We need to learn more about this. So the second point is, if you cannot break the or destroy the uprising or the protest, the next thing that is possible is isolate them, so that the news or the magnitude of this revolt or uprising does not get spread across a wide geography or a wide population, so that the support remains limited and it can be quelled or it can be managed in a local geography. So preventing it, the second aspect is, the first thing is to control the reach, and the second is preventing any outsider helping them in either in moral support or physical support in terms of supplies, etc., etc. Basically, in Israel conflict with Palestine, Turkey is trying to help Palestinians, Jordan is trying to help Palestinians, Russia is putting pressure for medical aid and distributing aid to the Palestinian people. So all this outside support, and Israel on the one hand is trying to prevent all this support coming from outside. Same thing Russia did with Ukraine, and same thing can be done by in Arab Spring, for example, a government versus population. Israel is facing enormous internal population's opposition to the Israeli government and the actions, but the news will not come because the reach is limited. They are isolating the opposition within, and then and then obvious the thing is that we need to basically minimize or reduce the efficiency or the effectiveness of the leader, so that the news or the revolt or the uprising does not spread widely like a wildfire. So the support has to be maintained, so that one tactic can be physically isolating the leader, or if he cannot be physically isolated or controlled, then obviously his effectiveness has to be controlled. So in the easiest method can be by sowing seeds of distrust or suspicions against this leader in the minds of their supporters or general population, so that they start thinking that is he the right person to support in this specific cause, because he seems to be dubious. The news that is coming is making us then feel that the leader is dubious, and he has dubious character, dubious objectives, dubious agenda. So all these suspicions and mistrust or distrust can be sowed in the minds of people and potential supporters, so that the news of the revolution or protest does not spread beyond and it can be minimized, and then it can be smashed or quelled. The next point is division. The best and most effective part here is to divide people, to divide leaders, to divide supporters based on their location, geography, caste, creed, objective, agenda, political party, political affiliations, religion, or agendas or objectives. So it is very common tactics to divide all these people, so that leaders are divided, supporters are divided, and they start fighting in between. So the main objective of protest or revolution or uprising gets lost over a period of time. And on the other hand, even the common population who is sympathetic towards all these leaders and all these supporters, the cause, they tend to diminish, and they tend to think that these are we don't see any value in this, and let them fight their own war, and then will not support, or will not go ahead and support in any form or manner. So once the leaders are divided, supporters are divided, and the population, the distrust or suspicions are sown in the minds of common population. Obviously, in most of the cases, such uprising or protests die natural deaths. So that is a very important point. Localizing the reach or the influence is also important, because the news should not get out. For example, China, we never understand what is happening inside China. It can be Uyghur Muslims or religious minorities in China, or the communism and people who are uprising, who are Tiananmen Square, for example, people who are rising against the dictates of the government, that news will never come, because then what they are trying to do is they are trying to minimize the reach or the effectiveness of this such a, so they are isolating these people so that this does not spread anywhere. Then the next important point is downplaying the means or the downplaying the cause behind the uprising or protest or such activities. Downplaying in the sense, we are explaining to the people that whatever these people are fighting, it is not worth it. We are already working on it, and anyways this is going to happen. So why these people are unnecessarily creating trouble for you as well as us? We are taking care of it, and unnecessarily they are trying to take undue advantage of all the situation, and they are trying to create problems for you. It can be traffic, it can be lack of supplies, it can be lack of medical assistance, for example Palestine. So they are basically the rulers or the oppressors or will obviously try and tell the common population that these people are unnecessarily creating problem for you. Anyways, whatever they are asking for, we are going to do it, but it is going to take time, and the timelines will never be given. It can be tomorrow, 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but you will get it. We are working on it. Hence, these people are unnecessarily creating pressure and trouble for you, so that the support gets diminished and the uprising or the revolt or the protest dies its natural death. Then the next stage is there are always three types of supporters. So one is the neutral supporter, who is neither on this side nor on the other side. Then there are some mild supporters who okay, what they're doing is okay. Let us will not do actively anything to support them, but let they are doing good job. Let them work on it. These are Marathi. And then there are there are diehard supporters who will do anything and everything that is possible to further the cause of the revolt or uprising or protest. So the tactics here is the rulers will target the mild supporters who are not very active in the revolt or protest, but they are supporting morally, or at least on the larger ground that they are supporting. Yes, I think what these people are doing is good. So the rulers or the oppressors will go to these mild supporters and tell them that whatever these people are doing is not necessary. We are already taking care of it. We are actually with you. We are for you, and we are the only people who can solve your problems. So let us work together, and it is not necessary to create a drama out of all this, and let us take it easy, and we will solve the problem over a period of time, so that the support for the revolution or for the uprising or the protest diminishes. These are the tactics. Then obviously on personal front, obviously all the leaders cannot be clean from political corruption or moral corruption. There are always some things which are bad or vile in the minds of people or the leaders. So the objective here is to find out where this gentleman, the effective leader, where this gentleman has made a mistake, where this leader has made it can be financial corruption, moral corruption, it can be a mistake while talking to somebody, or it can be anything that can be used against him. Old photographs, old alliance, old collaborations, etc., old affiliations. So these weaknesses or these pain points can be identified, and they can be used to either blackmail or to make sure that the leader sits down and does not open his mouth again, or the leader leaves the revolution or protest or uprising and get lost. Unfortunately, in some cases we have seen leaders vanished. For example, Russian, I think there was one gentleman who was talking against the erstwhile government, and he's overnight he had vanished from the from the earth. So these are extreme cases, but this is what basically making sure that the leader, using whatever tactics, blackmail, money, carrot, stick, etc. So the leader is made ineffective, or he loses the traction, and he leaves. He just gets lost. So this can also be done. This is by finding out weaknesses in the character, weaknesses in the objective, weaknesses in the stand that the leaders are taking, and weaknesses in the more larger operational aspects of the game. In certain areas we have seen that, for example, if the protests are silent and peaceful, in some miscreants will create some problems, and they will throw stones. And for example, Maharashtra, I'm not talking about Maratha Andolan, I'm talking generally. So there can be miscreants who are throwing stones at the public property, demolishing public property, and they do not have anything to do with the protest. But these people will unnecessarily create these problems, and so the news basically means protesters demolish public property. So what we are trying to basically do is we are trying to create distrust between the supporters about the protest and the leaders. This also can be a very common tactic used. So basically, if you cannot convince them, confuse them is the best part. Create distrust among the rank and file of the supporters, create distrust and suspicions among in the minds of general population, so that they don't stand and support the such kind of protests and uprisings or revolts. Though protest, uprising, revolts are at very different stages, but we are talking generally. How do rulers basically try and take care of all the opposition, or if things are going wrong, how do they manage these people? So this is what we are trying to discuss here, and it does not apply to any specific geography. You just change the location, change the name, and you will see the same tactics. China, Indonesia, Israel, internal Israeli population, Israel government, Israel Palestine, Russia Ukraine, Russia Cuba America. We can just go on. This applies to South America, Europe, Middle East, Asia, and America, obviously. And then there is nothing left except Australia, New Zealand. As long as people are there, human beings are there. As we have seen for Robert Greene, the 48 laws of human nature. As long as people are involved, these things will happen. The next stage is how do we create a rift between the supporters by aligning them on the religious lines or the objective lines or the geographic lines. You are from Maharashtra, you are from Rajasthan, so these kind of situations, or based on affiliations, political party affiliations, also this can be done. So these are the various tactics that can be used to create a rift between supporters, so that they break and they start fighting with each other instead of fighting against the rulers to achieve certain objective. So once the infighting starts, obviously the protest or the revolt or the uprising gets melted very soon, or eventually it dies. Then there is a creating confusion between the rank and file supporters and the leaders by giving multiple solutions, which may not be immediately effective, but these are tactics to by basically subvert the objective or the focus of the larger population or the protesters, so that the momentum is broken and the energy gets distributed, and the protest or the uprising dies down. So these things, short term and long term, by this basically a diversionary tactic. There was one movie, the A-Team movie by my favorite actor. I forgot his name. Schindler's List wala jo actor hai wo. So in A-Team he says, I like divergence. People die on these versions. So this kind of situations. So people die on multiple versions, and the objective of rulers is to make sure that these versions are convenient for us, for the rulers, and not for the population or the oppressed. So when once you find out the internal rift, the reasons or the pointers wherein you can make supporters or the leaders fight amongst themselves, then your battle is almost half won, because it is just a matter of time after which these people will be starting fighting in amongst themselves, and the whole cause or the agenda gets fizzled out. I think the next immediate part is making sure that you are with the protesters, telling them that we are the only people who can solve this problem. For example, Israel telling Palestinians that we are the only people who can solve your problems, while basically taking all these actions. Even Russia telling Ukraine, we are the only people who can support you. We are the only people who can solve your problems. So all these kinds of, even Americans telling Cubans that we are the only people, we are the only neighbor who can solve your problems, while Russia is trying to help you from outside. Cuban missile crisis I'm talking about. So Henry Kissinger has been a perfect example of using all these tactics. He was a modern day Machaivelli, we can say, who has used all these tactics to quell, to destroy, to diminish, and to maintain, to manage all these protests across the globe in his tenure as a Secretary of State. Then obviously the last stage is, even after doing all this, if nothing is happening in the state and the protest or the uprising is going on as usual with even greater strength, then the only thing that people can do without taking any disastrous actions with grave ramifications is to wait and watch. Basically to wait for the leaders or for the supporters or the protesters to make mistakes that can be utilized to again destabilize or diminish or downplay all these protests and uprising and revolts. These are some of the aspects of how basically rulers tend to look at all these opposition, protest, uprisings, revolts, and how do they take care of all this. Unfortunately, in some cases, the short-term tactics tend to quell the situation, but the long-term disadvantages can be huge. It depends on how we tackle, how as rulers, how as a population come together and tackle these issues towards the greater good of the race or of the country or of the state. Thank you very much. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we will be discussing about various things which will be related to direct us, our careers, or our life. Thank you very much.